The day my wife returned from her business trip, I secretly took our child to the airport to pick her up, hoping to give her a surprise. At the terminal, my wife emerged, laughing and chatting with a man. When it came time to part, the man suddenly wrapped his arms around her waist. I thought she would be furious, but she didn't even give a single look of warning. Instead, she blushed and said to him, "You can't act like this at the office." I picked up the child and left the airport without looking back. When my wife returned home, she saw me in the kitchen. A hint of guilt flashed across her face. "Chenmo, you've been working hard at home these days," she said. "Let's have dinner." Married for 6 years. It was rare to hear such words from her. Words, for she always emphasized to me that she was the hardest working, the strongest and most extraordinary person in the world. Recalling the scene I witnessed at the airport, I remembered the night before when I called her. She was panting, saying she was out for a run, and quickly hung up the phone. It seems she was lying to me. Thinking about it, my heart felt heavy, as if a huge stone was pressing on it. "I'm not hungry, you eat," I said. I returned to the room, but soon my wife sat down beside me. She asked unhappily, "Chenmo, we haven't seen each other for a week, and as soon as we meet, you give me the cold shoulder?" I smiled and replied, "President Liu, you must be joking. As a mere house husband, how dare I give you the cold shoulder?" She could hear the sarcasm in my voice. She explained that it was because she was too busy with work trips. That's why she hadn't had time to call or send videos to me. To cheer me up, she took out the t-shirt she bought for me and asked me to try it on. It didn't fit. I, on the other hand, had found some spare time to buy matching outfits for the three of us. Family outfits. Didn't you complain that I never wore couple outfits with you before? Aren't you satisfied this time? Come on, try it on and see if it fits. I realized she brought up this topic on purpose to avoid the real issue. So I grabbed that t-shirt and threw it away. This action made her lose her last bit of patience. "Chenmo, are you done with your tantrums or not? Isn't it just because I took Li Chao along on my business trip? He's my junior and also my employee. He wanted to learn some work experience from me. What's wrong with someone being ambitious about their career?" I retorted. "Isn't it true that your junior wants to learn more than just work experience from you?" "What do you mean?" "Chenmo, it's you who has a dirty mind. So you think everyone else is dirty too." Indeed, one shouldn't be idle for too long. I've been working so hard outside, and for what? Isn't it all for this family? What else do you know besides being blindly jealous? If you had even a bit of ambition, would it have come to the point where a woman like me has to be out there, exposing herself to the world? Do you know what people are saying about us? They're all saying I'm supporting a kept man. At least you don't have to see that. I've had to face all kinds of humiliation because of you. For 3 years, I've been living under this constant pressure. Every time we argued, she would repeat the same few phrases. That I was useless, living off her, a kept man. In the past, whenever it reached this point, I would apologize first. I knew her temper well. Since I was with her, I should be more tolerant. But not this time. Because this time, it's not about temper. It's about character, about betrayal. It's about how I can no longer endure the filthy pure relationship between her and her junior. I looked at her calmly. "Well, if that's the case, let's just stop embarrassing ourselves. Let's get a divorce." Speaking of my marriage to Liu Ryan, it was purely accidental. A few years ago, I was selling masks through my social circle. At that time, Liu Ryan was still my boss. She saw my post and asked me to deliver the masks to her door. That day, just as I handed her the masks, an ambulance took away a few suspected cases from her neighborhood. She had no choice but to take me in. As time passed, affection grew. And naturally, we ended up together. But that was only the beginning of my nightmare. Liu Ryan had been divorced once before because her ex-husband cheated on her. So after we got married, she became very strict with me. I wasn't even allowed to like or comment on any posts from female friends. Once a female colleague added me on a group buying app, and she scolded me for an entire evening. At first, I didn't think too much of it. I knew she was wounded from her past marriage with her ex-husband, and that was why she had become so vigilant. Moreover, I had never really been in a relationship before. I naively believed that a man should always yield to a woman. Later, she began to complain that my parents were not taking good care of our child. She thought they were not well educated and too lenient with the child. So she asked me to quit my job and become a stay-at-home dad. When we got married, I had promised her that I would meet all her demands. So I agreed to her request. It was around this time that her former junior, Li Chao, returned to the country. At that time, my wife boldly took me along to have a meal with him. During the meal, they started reminiscing about their college days. They talked about how my wife took care of him and how he had admired her back then. Li Chao even said that if she weren't already married, he would definitely try to pursue her now that he was back. Afterward, I sternly told my wife, "Isn't it a bit inappropriate for Li Chao to say such things?" But my wife countered, "Was he out of line, or are you just being overly sensitive? Does a casual joke warrant such a serious reaction? We'll be seeing each other frequently from now on. Stop making these baseless accusations." Seeing each other frequently? What do you mean by that? I've decided to hire Li Chao into the company. You're leaving your job to care for our child, and the company is short of hands at the moment. So Li Chao's return comes at the perfect time to fill your vacancy. In the following period, my wife and her former junior frequently went out together. She even forgot our wedding anniversary. She only came home the next morning. I could smell the scent of alcohol on her. I questioned her about where she had been. She looked at the food on the table and explained, "Isn't it because Zi Chao just returned to the country? His girlfriend overseas broke up with him. So I was comforting him and had a few drinks with him." What day was it yesterday? Why did you prepare so much delicious food? You forgot our wedding anniversary just to comfort him? My wife was stunned for a moment, but instead she responded with relief. "Good thing I forgot about it. Otherwise, Zi Chao would have been even more miserable." Since his heartbreak coincided with our anniversary, I was furious right then. I wanted to call Li Chao and curse him out immediately, but my wife stopped me. She scolded me for being petty, saying I was a small-minded man who could achieve nothing. I replied, "Liu Ryan, you're becoming more and more like your ex-husband." "Chen Mo, what do you mean by bringing up my ex-husband? You've looked down on me as a divorced woman from the start, haven't you? I know you despise me now. I won't hold you back. I'm willing to divorce you." Facing her emotional manipulation, I could only comfort her and assure her I didn't mean that. Then I apologized and quietly endured. I kept enduring until this time when she went on a business trip with Li Chao. I've truly had enough of days like these. Whoever wants to continue this kind of life, go to hell with it. I'm only 28, and I already have gray hair. But the next morning, Liu Ryan came, knocking on my door. To my surprise, she was completely different from her usual domineering self. She said to me, "Honey, I was wrong yesterday. In the past, every time we argued, she would bring up divorce and I would apologize. Every time we reached this point, she would think that I was truly at fault. But after a night of mental struggle, I knew what I wanted now." No, Ms. Liu. You're great, it's me who is wrong. Actually, we should never have been together from the start. Now that we're still young, let's get divorced quickly. No need for either of us to waste each other's time. Hearing my words, my wife panicked. She grabbed me and demanded, "Chen Mo, I've already apologized to you. What more do you want?" Even in an apology, she had to be condescending. And just because she apologized, does that mean I have to accept it? I said I want a divorce. She held onto my hand, refusing to let go. her emotions becoming somewhat frantic. "Chenmo, if we divorce, what about the child?" I countered. "When Li Chao was holding you, did you think about what would happen to the child?" Upon hearing my words, Liu Ryan's expression changed drastically, the muscles on her face twitching irregularly. She finally realized why I was bringing up divorce. "Chenmo, did you go to the airport yesterday?" "Yes, I did. I was originally planning to surprise you by bringing the child, but instead it turned into a shock for me. You two seem well matched. If I delay any longer, it would be me who is being unreasonable." The calmer I became, the more frightened Liu Ryan appeared. Her voice trembled as she tried to explain. "Chenmo, listen to me. Zi Chao has been abroad for several years, and his mindset might be somewhat westernized. A hug really doesn't mean much to him. How about this? Next time he does something like this, I'll stop him. No need. Even if you two are playing strip poker, it has nothing to do with me anymore. Do you have time today? Let's go to the civil affairs office and make an appointment." Every word I spoke was filled with my determination to divorce her. She realized my resolve as well. Panicking, she started to walk outside while saying to me, "Chenmo, you're just jealous right now. Once you calm down, you won't want to divorce me anymore. I just got back from a business trip, and there's a pile of work waiting at the company. I don't have time to go to the civil affairs office with you." I knew she was deliberately stalling for time. She thought that if she could delay until I cooled down, until I figured things out on my own, everything would return to normal. But she didn't understand. From the moment I saw her embrace Li Chao, without any resistance, my heart had already died. First, I took the child to my parents' house, asking them to take care of him for a few days. The elderly could immediately tell that something was wrong between Liu Ryan and me. They quickly asked, and I didn't hide it. I explained that I was planning to divorce Liu Ryan. At first, my parents tried to persuade me otherwise, but they knew how domineering and overbearing she was. Facing my determination, they no longer argued. Considering that for the past few years, everything we consumed all came from Liu Ryan's earnings, I had already prepared myself to leave with nothing. So the next step for me was to go out and find a job. Fortunately, I graduated from a prestigious university, and I had only been idle at home for a year. So it only took me one day from job searching to getting hired. That evening, I returned home to pack my things. As I was leaving with 3 suitcases, I ran into Liu Ryan coming out of the elevator, and beside her was Li Chao. "Chenmo, aren't you being too childish? It was just an argument. Do you really need to leave home? Zi Chao is here. I asked him to explain everything to you." Liu Ryan quickly gave Li Chao a look. Li Chao began to speak. "Brother-in-law, you misunderstood. Hugging and kissing are just customs abroad. You haven't been overseas, so you wouldn't understand. You don't realize how much Senior cares about you. She was distracted all day at the office today. If I had wanted something to happen with her, it would have happened long ago. It wouldn't be your turn. Senior has treated me like a younger brother for years. We're really close, that's why I hugged her." After Li Chao finished explaining, Liu Ryan looked at me with a proud expression. "Chenmo, the two of us are right here. Now, do you believe it?" I was quite surprised. I couldn't tell if Liu Ryan was truly foolish or just pretending. Did she honestly think that Li Chao was here to mediate for us? I thought I had already let go of my feelings, but facing Li Chao's provocation, I still couldn't resist, wanting to hit him. Yet, I had to consider reality. My child had already lost his mother. I couldn't let him lose his father too. I clenched my teeth, suppressing my anger, and silently walked around the two of them. But suddenly, Li Chao grabbed my hand from behind. If it weren't for his appearance, I think my family wouldn't have fallen apart. So I violently shook off his hand, and he fell to the ground as if I had punched him hard. Liu Ryan quickly helped him up and loudly confronted me. "Chenmo, have you lost your mind? How could you hit Zichao? You're taking good intentions and turning them into malicious ones. Hurry up and apologize to him. Before I could say a word, Li Chao grabbed Liu Ryan's hand again and said, "Senior, don't blame brother-in-law. He's just angry. It's all my fault in this matter. If I hadn't hugged you, nothing would have happened." Zichao, stop saying that. I'm already grateful that you came to explain. Besides, it isn't your fault. If he hadn't been idly taking the child to the airport, he wouldn't have seen anything, and there wouldn't have been such a big issue. I let out a cold laugh and asked, "So it turns out this whole thing is my fault? Isn't it? We've long agreed on our roles. I handle things outside, you handle things inside. Just take care of the household and don't bother with surprises. Don't you think that's childish?" Alright, Chen Mo, let's not talk about that for now. First, apologize to him. I remained silent, but Li Chao spoke to me again. "Brother-in-law, there's no need for an apology. Senior really cares about you, please understand her." I couldn't stand it any longer and coldly replied, "Li Chao, stop pretending. I know exactly what you're after." Liu Ryan looked shocked and shouted, "Chen Mo, stop it. You're embarrassing yourself. Now that you've already hit him, your anger should have subsided, right? Stop messing with your senior and hurry home." The two of them, in perfect harmony, silently turned me from the plaintiff into the defendant. For the first time, from both a psychological and physical standpoint, I felt disgusted by someone. I didn't want to explain, nor did I want to look at them for another second. Grabbing my luggage, I resolutely left Liu Ryan's home. "Chen Mo, today you hit Zichao right in front of me, which really made me lose face. This matter, we both have our faults. Just apologize to Zichao and let's call it a day. I've already given you a way out. Whether you take it or not is up to you." After leaving Liu Ryan's home, she sent me several messages in a row. I was relieved that she didn't soften her tone, because the tougher her stance, the clearer my mind became. Otherwise, I was really worried that when the child cried for his mother at night, I might have a change of heart again. Later, I thought about it, and Li Cao's appearance might not be such a bad thing for me after all, because only after going through such pain can I be reborn. I didn't contact Liu Ryan again, but she must have guessed that I had taken the child back to my parents' house. A few days later, she showed up at my parents' house looking for me. From complaining to my parents to making threats. "Parents, you know your family's situation. If Chen Mo wants to buy a house and a car in this city on his own, it'll take at least 30 years of hard work. So you two should try to persuade him to come back with me." Yeah, Liu Ryan, whatever is between the two of us, don't involve my parents in it. They're not just your parents. They're also my father and mother-in-law. Of course they should be involved in our matters. If you don't come back with me, then I'll just stay here. Liu Ryan said this with a fearless confidence. She thought that would leave me with no options. She got my parents to persuade me, so I could do the same and get her parents to persuade her. Back when we got married, her parents didn't think highly of me. They saw me as a good-for-nothing pretty boy living off her, especially over the past year. When I've been staying at home doing nothing, they despised me even more. They even secretly urged Liu Ryan to divorce me. I accidentally overheard their conversations. So when I called them, telling them that Liu Ryan was refusing to leave my house and begging me not to divorce her, they were furious on the spot. Liu's father yelled loudly over the phone, "Chen Mo, if it weren't for my daughter, would you be living the life you have now? You have no skills and no money. It's only my daughter who could take a liking to you. My daughter is out there earning money to support the family, while you, a lazy good-for-nothing pretty boy, still dare to mention divorce to my daughter? Remember, it's my daughter's, you. Now hand the phone over to Yan Yan." Liu Ryan's parents were like cats whose tails I had just stepped on. They immediately turned to scold Liu Ryan again. In the end, she had no choice but to leave my house. After she left, my parents also tried to persuade me. They said that whenever the two of us argued before, Liu Ryan had never lowered her head. This time, she must really know she was wrong. They wanted me to give her another chance for the sake of the child. Honestly, I was confused, because I had truly believed that when my wife heard me mention divorce, she would calmly accept it. That way, no one would bother about her and Li Chao anymore. A few days later, I returned under the pretense of picking up some things, wanting to see how she had been doing lately. After all, we had lived together for 5 years. To say that there wasn't a single happy memory in those years of being so close would be impossible. Back in the house where I had lived for 5 years, I felt a surge of emotions. I sat on the sofa, pondering for a long time whether I should wait for her to come back and to have a proper talk with her. But soon I gave up on that naive idea. In the bathroom, I saw 2 toothbrushes. There is no greater sorrow than a heart that has died, and death is only secondary. Seeing the 2 toothbrushes in the bathroom shattered my last illusion. In the days that followed, I focused all my attention on work. During this period, Liu Ryan contacted me many times, but I ignored all of them. But the world is small, and soon news of me working at the new company reached Liu Ryan's ears. That day, while I was proofreading some documents, a colleague told me that a beautiful woman was waiting for me at the door. Sure enough, it was my wife. After so many days of Cold War, I thought she had finally come to her senses and agreed to the divorce. But unexpectedly, as soon as she saw me, she threw herself into my arms. Her body was still as soft as ever, but her face looked awful, with dark circles standing out prominently. Yet I no longer believed that she hadn't slept well because of me. Those 2 toothbrushes explained everything. Please, honey, stop all this nonsense, okay? Come back with me. These past few days without you, I can't eat or sleep. I keep forgetting to pick up the deliveries. I don't even know how to pay the water and electricity bills anymore. I miss you and our son. As long as you come back, we can talk about everything else. Liu Ryan's eyes were brimming with tears, but in the face of her weakness, I could only respond with a cold smirk. Liu Ryan, stop with your crocodile tears. You've already moved in with Li Chao. Did you think I wouldn't find out? You live with your junior, and yet you have the nerve to ask me not to divorce you? How exactly do you manage to pull this off? She asked, surprised. Moved in? When did I ever move in with him? I've been feeling down these days, and he was just worried I might do something foolish, so he stayed at our place to keep me company. He chatted with me, and I made noodles for him. That's all there was to it. Don't overthink it. Enough, I don't want to hear your stories anymore. President Liu, you're at least still a boss. Don't make yourself so cheap and let others laugh at you like this. My decision to divorce you is something I've thought through carefully. If you're only here to persuade me not to divorce, then please leave. No matter what you say, Chen Mo, I will never divorce you. Because I love you. I can't live without you. Liu Ryan's words made my heart tremble for a moment. In the past, I longed to hear you say those 3 words. But you always said I was childish, and taught me that love isn't something you say, it's something you show. So I won't listen to what you say anymore. I'll only look at what you do. My love for you has been completely consumed by your endless lack of boundaries. And your love for me, it's not so much love as it is just being used to me taking care of you. In fact, this kind of trouble could be solved simply by hiring a maid. That's enough. I have to work now, please leave. As we were talking, more and more people started to gather around. Some of them even recognizing Liu Ryan. She didn't like being the center of gossip, so she had no choice but to leave our company. I was also called into the office by my boss Shen Zui. After hearing what happened, she looked at me with some sympathy. Although you shouldn't have dealt with your personal matters at the office, I can't really blame you for this situation either. Alright, go on and be more careful next time. For years, I've been pulled by Liu Ryan, and it made my life feel so stifling. Suddenly, having a woman who was so understanding made me feel an urge to cry. Outside, the wind howled and the rain poured, yet my heart remained calm. I thought, after hearing my firm and resolute words, Liu Ryan should stop entangling with me. But it wasn't until after work that I realized she was still waiting at the door. When she saw me come out, she ignored the pouring rain and ran straight to my side, asking me to get in the car. She wanted to drive me home. She let the rain drench her completely, but I wasn't moved by her act of pity at all. There was no need. I could just take the bus home. So I walked around her, opened an umbrella, and got on the bus. She went crazy, chasing after the bus in her car. But during the evening rush hour, combined with the rain and slippery roads, she got into an accident. In the end, after being notified by the police, both her parents and I were called to the traffic police station. Li Chao came along with her parents. As soon as Liu's father saw me, he questioned, "What happened? Why did my daughter get into an accident?" I calmly replied, "Why your daughter got into an accident is something you should ask her. We've been separated for a while now. Or you could ask Li Chao, since the two of them are living together now." Hearing my words, Li Chao's eyes narrowed slightly. He clearly didn't expect that I already knew about this. Uncle, auntie, don't listen to his nonsense. Recently, Senior Chen Mo has been in a terrible mood. So I went to her house to take care of her, worried she might do something rash. I stayed with her, and we drank a lot of alcohol. After getting drunk, we ended up sleeping together. But it was just sleep, nothing happened. Our relationship isn't as dirty as he says. Hearing this, Liu's father immediately questioned me. "Chenmo, I've been telling my daughter to divorce you for a long time, but she wouldn't listen. I don't know what's so good about you. How can a grown man be even more petty than a woman? My daughter has known Zi Chao for years, longer than she's known you. They are like siblings. How can you even doubt that kind of relationship? You've really wasted all my daughter's feelings on you," I retorted. People always find it easy to talk when they're not in this situation. If your wife were out there hugging another man and spending the night with him, how would you feel? Upon hearing my words, he slapped me across the face, but he was quickly pulled away. Li Chao said, "Uncle, auntie, please don't get upset. It's not worth hurting yourself over someone like him. Chen Mo, if you have any grievances, take them out on me. Why make things difficult for Senior? If anything happens to her, you should take full responsibility. Don't think that Uncle and Andy will let you off, because I certainly won't." He grabbed my collar, looking very agitated. When Liu's father slapped me earlier, I let it go, considering he was once my elder. So I didn't strike back. But I couldn't tolerate Li Chao. I shoved him away, then swung a punch at his face. "You dared to hit me, you bastard! I'll fight you to the end." He lunged at me, and we quickly started wrestling on the ground. Liu Ryan was charged with dangerous driving, so she wouldn't be coming out anytime soon. Meanwhile, I was taken to the police station because I was the one who initiated the fight, and he was the one who got more seriously injured. This matter could be either big or small, so the police suggested settling it privately. The injuries weren't severe, but there was no way I would seek Li Chao's forgiveness, so I refused to settle. I thought I would be spending the next few months in detention, but to my surprise, the next morning I was released. What I didn't expect was that the one who came to get me out was my new boss, Shen Zuwei. She had paid 20,000 yuan to Li Chao and got him to sign a letter of forgiveness. I asked her in confusion, "Why did you do that?" She said, "Firstly, I heard about your situation with Li Ryan and felt sorry for what you've been through. Secondly, although you're not yet skilled in your work. Your meticulous attitude shows that you will surely become an excellent employee in the future. I felt an unprecedented warmth from her. I promised her that I would repay her with my dedication to my work in the future. She smiled gently and said, "That's enough." A week later, Liu Ryan's parents settled the compensation issue, and Liu Ryan was released. After she got out, she heard that my boss had paid Li Chao 20,000 yuan to get me out. So she immediately came to our company. She didn't hold back in, said all the harsh words she could think of. "Chenmo, no wonder you're so insistent on divorcing me. Turns out you've lost your taste for my soft rice. I initially took a liking to you because you seemed honest. You once promised me that you would keep your distance from all other women, that you wouldn't do anything to betray me. I never expected you to be just like my ex-husband, the same type of person, one who abandons one pot for another. And you, Shen Zui, how dare you seduce a married man? You shameless vixen." Shen Zui called security to kick Liu Ryan out. I thought she might send me away too, but instead she came to me and gave me a few days off, telling me to handle my personal affairs before coming back to work. After everything that happened in the past few days, I also became clearly aware that Liu Ryan was like a malignant tumor in my life. If I didn't cut her out soon, the poison would spread throughout my entire being. So I decided to meet her and have a proper talk. I took the divorce agreement and asked her to meet at a cafe, but she insisted on playing the emotional card, asking me to come home and talk. I didn't want to waste time arguing over this, so after many days, I returned once again. A strange sadness welled up in my heart as I entered the house. The aroma of food hit me. I saw Liu Ryan had prepared a table full of delicious dishes. She was wearing the matching family outfit that she bought for the three of us. She walked over and affectionately grabbed my arm, saying, "Honey, you're home. Do you think this outfit looks good on me?" She had a playful look on her face, as if nothing had happened at all. I calmly pulled my arm out of her embrace and said, "It looks good, but that's not why I'm here today. I know that day. I shouldn't have gone to your company causing such a scene. You're not really that kind of person. And I just said a lot of things in the heat of the moment, but that's exactly how I show my love for you. Can't you see that?" I smiled and shook my head. "All I see is your possessiveness, not your love." Possessiveness is also a form of love. Really? Then why, when I asked you to keep your distance from Li Chao, did you accuse me of being overly possessive? Why did you say I didn't give you personal space? Why did you say that what I have for you isn't love, but rather a form of kidnapping in the name of love? A series of questions left my wife speechless. She never expected the bullets she shot in the past to come back and hit her today. She struggled to defend herself. But Zi Chao is like a younger brother to me. Back in university, I took care of him like that. Our relationship is truly pure. If you have issues with him, I can keep my distance. It won't be like before. Hey, a pure relationship. I'm a man too. Do you think I can't tell what Li Cao's gaze means when he looks at you? I shook my head. If only you had said this a year earlier, I might have been able to accept it back then, but not now. Why? Can you really bear to see our child lose her mother at such a young age? If I were you, I wouldn't use our child as a shield. Have you ever thought about how our child would feel seeing her mother in another man's arms, a man who isn't her father? Liu Ryan, being a mother, was undoubtedly hurt by my words. Tears began to well up in her eyes. I took out the divorce agreement. She grasped it as if it were her last lifeline and said, "Shenmo, if you divorce me, you'll leave with nothing. You can't take anything away." I thought it was something serious. Look closely, I've been prepared to leave with nothing for a long time. If you divorce me, I'll fight for custody of our child. And then I'll marry the person you hate most, Li Chao. I'll make sure our child calls him dad. Chenmo, you don't want things to get this ugly, do you? I countered, you've been married twice already. Are you sure Li Chao will even want you? Of course I'm sure. He said that as long as I divorce you, he'll take care of me. Out of consideration for our past, I haven't done it yet. But if we really get divorced, do you believe Li Chao would marry me in a heartbeat? Liu Ryan's face was full of confidence. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. We both knew it was Li Chao, so I said to Liu Ryan, since you're so confident, why don't you cooperate with me for a bit? Liu Ryan hid in the guest room. I went to open the door. When he saw it was me, Li Chao was startled. Sister, sister, he called out twice. I explained. She went downstairs to buy some wine. She said she wants to drink a bit tonight. Come on in, unless you're afraid of me? HMPH, what's there to be afraid of? This isn't even your house. Li Chao carelessly bumped my shoulder and entered the room. Chenmo, are you two getting divorced or not? I know you've been jumping around these past few days, trying to get more of the property, but I advise you not to have any delusions. Most of the property between you two was premarital. Your behavior is really surprising to me. When you're in front of your sister, don't you always act so weak? Nonsense. If I didn't act weak, would she have arranged work for me? If I didn't act weak, would she often give me money to spend? But now she's not here. Who am I supposed to act weak for? For you? But I must say, all this time, sister has never agreed to sleep with me. So far, I've only touched her when she was drunk. Her feelings for you are actually quite loyal. So as long as she hasn't slept with anyone else, that counts as loyalty? I think that's a serious misunderstanding of the word. Chenmo, your divorce is a foregone conclusion. I have some advice for you. I asked him. What advice? I'm quite comfortable living here. I've already decided to marry Liu Ryan. But I don't want to become a stepfather at such a young age. So if you don't want your son to be mistreated by me, then you should take this burden away. Hearing his words, I was furious. But I believed Liu Ryan was even more furious, since she hadn't rushed out. Of course, I could hold back as well. You can't even tolerate your sister's child. It seems you don't truly love her either. Li Chao was cautious. Before speaking, he even glanced back at the door, and only after confirming it was locked did he continue talking. Of course not, she's been divorced twice. Could it always be the man's fault? But to survive in this city, I have no other choice. Not afraid to tell you. I was expelled abroad for plagiarism on my thesis. I couldn't make it there, so I returned home. After I came back, I reached out to sister. I found she still took care of me just like before, treating me like a younger brother. So I decided to push you out of her life. That's why I deliberately invited sister out for drinks on your wedding anniversary and kept her out all night. But I never expected that you'd be able to endure that for her. Oh, by the way, at the airport, I actually saw you first. It was only after seeing you that I went to hug sister. But I didn't expect that. She didn't push me away either. And just a few days ago, you merely shook off my hand. I fell on purpose to stir things up between you two. Hearing all this, I couldn't help but start clapping. Brilliant. Hey, Chenmo, I know that after hearing all this, you must despise me. He continued, but it doesn't matter. This is just my way of surviving. I replied, I don't despise you. In fact, I rather admire you. But aren't you afraid that I'll tell Liu Ryan everything? Of course not. I know sister. She won't believe you. She just think you're deliberately slandering her brother. The next second, the guest room door slammed open. Liu Ryan's face was pale. Her eyes were red. The moment he saw her, Li Chao stood up, trembling. Sister, why are you here? Listen to me, I can explain. It's not what you heard. I was just trying to provoke Shenmo. But this time, Liu Ryan wouldn't believe him anymore. Furious, she grabbed everything on the table pots, bowls, and utensils, and threw them at Li Chao. Her whole demeanor was out of control, continuously cursing Li Chao. After getting doused with a hot bowl of seafood rice, Li Chao fled in a panic. Calmly, I watched the entire performance. Then I said to Liu Ryan, "Now we can sign the divorce papers." Honey, you heard everything. It was all his doing. He already told you, didn't he? He's been seducing me all along. But I never cheated. Why do you still insist on divorcing me? When he expressed his interest in you, you didn't reject him outright. Maybe your body never cheated, but your mind found great pleasure in it. From the moment I saw him holding you and you didn't push him away, our ending was already decided. Yan, let me go. And let yourself go too. No! Honey, I truly know I was wrong. I'll cut ties with Li Chao completely. Please don't leave me. I'm begging you. Liu Ryan put down all her dignity. She directly knelt in front of me, holding onto my leg. Her knees hit the shards of broken glass, bleeding. But I felt no pity. I only said one thing. It's impossible for us anymore. Stop humiliating yourself. If you insist on not divorcing, then I'll have no choice but to file for divorce. Ignoring her sobs and bleeding knees, I forcefully pushed her away, leaving her house for good. I let out a deep breath, feeling like the air was particularly fresh today. In the following month, Liu Ryan didn't contact me again. My life finally returned to peace. Every day I lived comfortably, with my parents helping take care of the child. I could throw myself wholeheartedly back into my work. Shen Zui appreciated my work attitude. Even before my probation period ended, she made me permanent. People started to gossip that Shen Zui might have a thing for me, but this time I knew better. After everything with Liu Ryan, I realized that when it comes to choosing a wife, a man should look for someone who admires him, and not someone I admire. Later, I found out that shortly after that day, Liu Ryan was diagnosed with depression. She hadn't been to work for over half a month. She stayed at home every day, with severe suicidal tendencies. Because of this, our divorce dragged on for a whole year before it was finally settled. At first, her parents wanted to fight me for custody of the child, not because they liked the child, but because they didn't want me to have my way. However, considering Liu Ryan's condition, the court ultimately awarded the child to me. One day, feeling bored, I was scrolling through Douyin, and I came across news about Li Chao. After being fired by Liu Ryan, he started forging fake documents. Once, he made fake documents for a murderer, and ended up being silenced by the very murderer. This case was later turned into a warning film, his last contribution to the world. 3 years later, I became the acting chairman of the company. The former chairwoman, Shen Zui, became a full-time housewife, taking care of our child at home. Every evening, she would dress up in matching outfits with our child and wait for me at the door. Honey, I heard Liu Ryan's condition seems to be getting worse. How about we take some time to visit her? I nodded. The wounds in my heart after so many years were gradually healed by my wife. I finally believed in Hayao Miyazaki's words. You have to believe that in this world, there is always someone willing, in the simplest way, to love you, simply wanting to be good to you, in a way they just can't help.